Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. I'm Enrique with my co-host Vince to bring you the best in our veteran, military spouse, and first responder community. And Vince will introduce today's guest.
Thanks, Enrique. Again, going strong in 2024. Anthony Cosby is here, founder and CEO of STZY from San Antonio, Texas. Welcome, Anthony, to the show. Let's start off. Tell us a little bit about you.
No, thanks so much for having me, Vince and Enrique. Hey, great to be here. Looks like I'm the first for 2024, so looking forward to that. So a little bit about me. Of course, I'm a naval veteran. Had the great privilege of serving 21 years in our amazing Navy. And now I'm an entrepreneur. I live in San Antonio, Texas. I was able to launch a footwear company a few years ago, and that company has continued to grow. We've been able to sell to every continent except Antarctica. We got to figure that one out. We'll get there this year, but it's been amazing. Been amazing also just helping so many other veterans, military spouses, transitioning service members, wherever their career goes, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's working in corporate America, whether it's opening a nonprofit, any of those type of things, just the knowledge that we've been able to garner from valuable programming, like the program that Enrique and I went to at Texas A&M, Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for Veterans. Just having that knowledge and not keeping it to yourself and just sharing it with other brothers and sisters that are going through that grind of transitioning, whether it's going into a business, your last day in the military service, or just relocating to a new place and just want to get that sponsor, as we used to have it in the Navy, say, hey, let me help you out. Let me get you plugged into these resources here in City, USA. So those are some of the things that are passionate to me. In 2024, it's just going to be amazing.
And I know that your endeavors, we've seen how well you've done post-service. We congratulate you on that. Not too many people can transition into something new like entrepreneurship and make good of it. Now, I wanted to ask you specifically about STZY because I see the socks everywhere. I see the emblem everywhere. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, I was able to launch the STZY brand, but it actually came from a drop shipping company that I had right after I graduated from A&M. I launched that company back in November 2019. Really just wanted to make about, $100,000 a year from it, residual income. Launched it, started to get a little traction, then COVID hit. COVID hit 2020, March. And I'll tell you that was probably the most resounding point in my life as an entrepreneur, because at A&M, the one word that Blake Petty, our executive director for McPherson, he always said, pivot. You had to pivot. And at that moment, that's when I took my pivot. The one thing that we had was a lot of customers buying socks. So then I took that a little bit further and started saying, hey, what if we start a sock only company, essentially? And what if we make the best and most comfortable sock in the world? So it took about 8 months to get it to market. Officially launched the company through Texas in October 2020, turned the website on March of 2021, had about 8,000 units, thought that was going to take me about 4 months to sell. We sold out in 40 days. At that point, I knew we were on to something. But then at that point, that's when you have something that's good pretty quickly, that's when you start seeing things going real, whether it's logistics, trying to get product back in. You have customers knocking on the door saying, hey, where are the socks? When am I going to get things? So it's been a learning experience, but I would tell you, within that 40 days, one of the things that we also set out to do was help young athletes reach their goals, dreams, and aspirations through giving back, whether it's through sponsorship, whether it's through supporting an athletic organization or a school. So we've been able to do those things all over the country. And for me, young athletes are able to live those opportunities to grow in, whether it's dedication, commitment, teamwork, a lot of those things that we've learned in the military. But young folks get to learn them a little bit earlier if they're a part of a team or if they're an athlete. Because whether you're a tennis player, like my daughter, who's an elite tennis player, she has to have commitment, right? She has to have that dedication, and she has to want to improve on her craft each and every day. So when we went that route, we started getting so many agents that was reaching out to us saying, hey, my guy loves what you guys are doing. And then at that point, that's when we started saying, well, we can send your guys some socks if they want to wear them and test them out. And you know, I think our first big outing with that was the preseason in 2021. We were able to seed about 50 to 100 NFL players across the country that wanted our socks. And I will tell you, our socks was right next to Bombas with a lot of the players, and the players picked up our socks. So, you know, we're, you know, grateful for Bombas for laying that groundwork and showing us how to do it. Of course, we're not where they are, but they've definitely been a pioneer in this. But I tell you, you know, small businesses like mine get to learn from big companies like that started with a dream and a vision, and they have a vision and mission of giving back, as we have that mission of giving back. So I'll always say there's enough space for everybody and for everybody to grow. And that's what we're trying to grow, this unique footwear company that truly wants to give back to help that next generation reach their goals, dreams, and aspirations.
Wow, Anthony, you know, from 4 months to 40 days, that's a phenomenal, you know, feat to have. And where you're sitting now is right next to the big fish, right? So, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships, basically what I'm hearing you say, while giving back to the community, everything you're doing. You know, I remember Forrest Gump, you know, the most important piece of equipment on your body is your socks. Make sure they're dry. So
Yeah.
folks, don't forget, keep your socks dry and buy a pair. We'll tell you more later. So you talked a lot about community. What do you do to give back to the community, or we'll love to share lessons learned about entrepreneurship, either or both?
Yeah, you know, let's go with the community piece first, because it's very valuable. So for me, one of the things that my COO, Milton Roberts, Sergeant Major, 30-year guy, Special Forces, what a COO to have, right? But I would tell you, you know, when he and I was driving back from the Super Bowl, we got invited to the Super Bowl last year, and we were in 3 events. You know, our first big outing and showcasing the brand, essentially. But as we were driving back from Arizona, you know, Milton said, "Hey, let's plant that flag in San Antonio and really get ingrained into the community." We've been ingrained into the veteran and military space, but not into the entrepreneurship space in San Antonio. So at that time, we said, all right, let's do it. So we were able to get connected to a lot of different folks, a lot of different organizations. And really, that's when, and we really were able to start growing inside our church, Community Bible Church, where we have over 40,000 members, and our pastor is a hoopster, Jordan guy from Orlando, and just love STZY socks, preaches in STZY socks every sermon, right? So you cannot beat that, where you have folks that want to see you win. But with that, being plugged into the community, it gives you an opportunity. If there's another entrepreneur that might have an issue that you had a year ago, you guys can talk about it. And it's real talk, because as you guys know, entrepreneurship is not for the faint heart. Don't think that, you know, you're going to turn on a website and be making it rain, you know, dollar bills, because that's just not how it works. To build and sustain something, you have to have that firm foundation. And you have to be able to pivot when those opportunities present themselves, or if something presents themselves, a situation where you have to pivot. And those things are real, because you guys know the statistics, especially when it comes to African-American entrepreneurs. 18 months, that's the cap, right? 18 months, think about it. 18 months, and literally you're gone for the most part, over 80%. And, you know, my hope and prayer was to beat those odds. But I would tell you, beating those odds was not easy. It was not easy, because you don't pick funding from a tree, right? Funding is a whole nother animal when it comes to figuring out how your company is going to grow. But again, being plugged into the community where folks are seeing what you're doing, and then just like you said, Vince, they're seeing that you're bumping up against the bigs. So why not? Why not be that other boat to help you lift up? So that's what I've seen in the community. And I think as folks that transition out, a lot of folks maybe don't like to network or go out to events or those type of things. but it is valuable for people to know who you are, just like they knew who you were in the military. Even if you're a college athlete, just how they knew who you were, on campus. Folks have to know who you are in the community, even as someone like Keldon Johnson, who's one of the Spurs that love our socks. His whole family wears these socks, right? But Keldon is more and more in the community, and when he's in the community, we get invited. We have a table, right there when Keldon is giving away turkeys and toys for kids. So it's one of those opportunities where you can attach yourself to people that are truly trying to do good in the community and transform the community.
And I love that collaborative effort from all sides. There's, like you said, there's plenty of seats. There's plenty to have. You just have to have that type of heart going into it, and you'll see everybody rise up. And I love that. I love that about what you do. I love that about your company. So talking about what's going on now, let's talk a little bit about the future. What's on the horizon for STZY?
Yeah, no, we're really excited about what's going on in the future. Through our trials and tribulations, we've been able to bring all our manufacturing to Alabama and Vietnam as well. But that's been a godsend, because for us, being able to travel to Vietnam and sit down with the CEOs of the manufacturers that we're working with, or traveling to Alabama to talk with the manufacturers there and break bread, and then just figure out how we're going to win for 2024. We were able to, we're going to start positioning the name STZY Footwear. We will be doing a big push during Dream Week. So starting on the 15th will be our big launch for 2024. We were able to secure our manufacturing for our Enoch slides when we had some manufacturing issues last year. Just had to power through it, and now here it is. We've been able to have some amazing folks look at our slides, test our slides out, and now we're getting ready to bring them to the market. We have some pre-order folks that have stayed with us for quite some time, so we're thankful to finally be able to bring the product to them. But we also are going to have a little bit of extra for folks that want to feel that comfort of walking on clouds. We're going to be bringing out our new V3 sock collection, which, if you look on our site, we have a lot of white and black socks. So now we're getting ready to look at that Pantone colorway a little bit more and bring in some more colors, which is going to be pretty amazing. But also just going to continue with the amazing comfort that has been the signature of our brand. And with that, we're going to do more and more with our athletes. So we're going to have this new brand where it's going to be SZY, a little bit strength, zeal, and youth. And we're going to do a whole campaign around the strength, zeal, and youth. Strength is going to be our military, our first responders, leaders that want to tell their story. Zeal is going to be our mentors, like our Pastor Ed, like Bebe, who here in San Antonio in his gym trains hundreds of professional athletes a year in youth, like Jason Lamont, our first STZY athlete, who's a professional boxer and just an amazing person. All these folks are going to be able to tell their stories, and we're going to be able to hold that through the down market, which is going to be our platform that we'll stream our stories on, and just really grow the brand. Because the one thing that I've learned is you can spend so much money in ad spend, right? And we wanted to figure out, how can we do storytelling? Because one thing I know, storytelling is something that resonates with folks. And if you get that story magnified by various networks, and their networks magnified, and their networks magnify it, that's essentially advertising at its best. Because now people are able to put a face, a name to the product, a mission behind the product, and really just able to see how that company is actually moving and really trying to change the world, in a sense, in their own space. So that's 2024 for us. We're really excited about it. And I think, as we continue to grow, our flag is planted in San Antonio, but we get hit up all over the country, and that's where the magic is really going to happen. And just continue to take the template that we have in San Antonio and place that SZY template in Minnesota, in North Carolina, and Florida, and just really do some amazing things and impact lives every step of the way.
Amen, brother. I love everything I'm hearing. You know, you are where your feet are planted, and you guys are definitely planting flags all over the country. And, you know, definitely have manufacturers from Vietnam, and Alabama is phenomenal. Good kudos to you and your brand, and looking forward to the future. I can't wait to wear my own socks here soon and walk in the clouds. But let's transition a little bit, Anthony. Talk about 21 years in the Navy. And let's talk about that leadership aspect. What do you do to continue to sharpen your saw to aid you to thrive in your professional life?
Yeah, for me, 21 years was a remarkable time because I got to serve as enlisted and as an officer. And for me, I learned so much as enlisted, and I learned the elements of administration when I was a personnelman, and I learned the importance of reading and the importance of being in the know, especially real time, right? And as you fast forward to 2024, where do you get that real time knowledge? You continue to read, but listening to podcasts, right? Listen to audiobooks, listen to folks that have gone out there, done it, exited their companies, and are angels or VCs, venture capitalists now, angel investors or VCs. For me, I love listening to those type of stories, whether it's Bob Gurley or some of the folks that have successfully, Elon Musk. I love listening to what he says. I love listening to Shaq when I listen to some of Shaq's podcasts. Um, Snoop Dogg has been able to say a lot of good things. So many different folks out there that you would probably won't think of them as an entrepreneur, but they're almost hitting close to $1 billion status just because they have understood the elements of building a brand, right? And for me, that's what we're trying to do, is build a brand, because as we continue to grow, that military aspect helps us stay true to what we're doing. We have our core values, and we want to make sure that we make a difference, especially in the lives of the folks that have served, that are serving, and their families. And I think as we continue to grow, those are going to be some of the key aspects that STZY will be able to link into, because for some businesses, they really don't understand the military aspect. But when you have a business that's literally ran by retired military folks, then we know a little bit, and we know how we can plug in and how we can help elevate the organization that you're in through ours. So for me, those are some of the things that are near and dear as I look and just continue to sharpen my spear, just continue to be the tip of the spear. I think we always have to have those conversations with folks that are in the room, right? Because one thing I realize is sometimes you just have to get in the room. Sometimes you just have to get in the room. You could be a fly on the wall, but if you get into that room and folks see that you're listening, you're taking crazy notes, then somebody probably talked to you afterwards because they see that you're for real and you're about it. And I think as we get in more and more rooms, I want to be the person that let other folks in those rooms, right? Because I know that my belief is it's okay to go through the hardships, through the grind, the entrepreneurship. Everybody's going to go through it. But I also want to be that individual that can give those folks that opportunity to exceed and excel in their businesses, because sometimes some folks just don't know how to ask, right? They'll let their business fail before they ask. So is that a bad thing? No. Sometimes you just need a little bit of mentorship. And I think, as leaders, that's important for us to do, especially if we see diamonds out there that can be made, even shinier if we were able to put our hands on it a little bit. So those are some of the things that, we're looking at for is how we sharpen our tools.
Great advice, especially on the mentorship, asking questions. These are things that are vital to growth, not only as an individual, but if you are in business, definitely vital to business growth. And so, thank you for sharing that. Now, talking about advice, your military history, now your business history, what advice did you receive that you would like to pass on to an emerging leader today that you thought was so valuable to you?
Yeah. I think probably one of the biggest things is understanding that failure is not failing. Because sometimes when you get no's, I have this saying, Howard Schultz got over 140 no's from banks, over 140. And you look at where Starbucks is right now, you know, understand that those no's are not, hopefully not meant, directly at you for some reason outside of whatever the data is. But when you get those no's, figure out how to find those yeses somewhere, right? And sometimes that means having to ask someone for advice, ask someone for an introduction, and being able to put your best self forward. Because the one thing and this is probably the most valuable thing I would tell entrepreneurs, you have to be authentic. You have to be authentic. You cannot be made up. You cannot be one way in one setting and one way in another setting, because then you're going to have to figure out who you are, right? But if you're authentic through every step of the way and really have a clear path in mind, and you can actually showcase that path with anybody that you talk to, and you can get them to feel like, wow, I love what you're doing. You may not have two nickels to rub, but what did you do? You got somebody's attention. And they may not be able to help you, but guess what? They may be able to make a phone call and say, hey, I want you guys to help this individual. I love what they're doing. You got to listen to them. You're going to love it too. So those are some of the things that I believe. Being your authentic you is so valuable, because it gives you an opportunity to just continue to excel and exceed, knowing who you are as a person, as a human being, and as an entrepreneur.
No, absolutely. I heard early in the day, don't be a carbon copy, be an original, be
Yeah.
yourself. So be authentic is a great advice to pass on emerging leaders. And if they say no, continue to ask for a referral, somebody else to help you go through, because there will be a yes down the road. Thank you for that advice. Now, Anthony, I'd love to hear about a memorable leadership aha moment you've had that you like to share with our audience as well.
Yeah. Man, I tell you, I think I've had so many. Um, I think the one I'm gonna go old school. I'm gonna go with last night, right? So last night, we're getting ready to do Dream Week in San Antonio, and I'm gonna be a keynote for an event, and in Dream Week, of course, we're really focusing on uh, for STZY, we're focused on a local brand going global with global success, right? And as I got ready to post something on LinkedIn last night, I said, it's been years since I actually heard Dr. King's address from beginning to end. So I went up into my quiet room, nobody bothered me, and I put it on. And I listened to it. I was reading it when I was listening to it. And, tears came down my eye a little bit. Because when you hear elements of that, he was speaking a vision into fruition. He was speaking what he saw could happen years from now. And as I look at where we stand right now, with that continuation of that legacy that he was speaking, regardless where you come from, what you look like, who your family is, we're a legacy of what he was speaking back then. And for me, as some young entrepreneur listening to a powerful mentor like that, a powerful message like that, it just made me feel like, Anthony, regardless of how 2024 is going to go, you're going to win. You're going to win, because that message that happened so long ago is alive and well today. So just remember, entrepreneurs, whatever messages you out there seeing, when you get on the speaker circuit, you never know if that message is going to be there 5, 10, 15 years from now. Because if you're speaking that vision, that truth into fruition, and if it's aligned with, in my opinion, God's will, it's going to come to that fruition. And for me, I listened to it. After reading it, I took that deep breath, and I was just like, I have a dream. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. Yes, sir.
Powerful, powerful words indeed. And anyone listening right now, maybe that's not the message you want to listen to, but find someone that has given a visionary message. Listen to it. Take time, because Anthony, we run in a high paced environment, always running, always trying to figure out what's next, and we seldom take the time. So I love that you shared that, because we seldom take the time to sit in a quiet room and just take in people's messages. A visionary one like that will definitely impact anyone, but especially those that are living that message. So thank you for sharing that. Now, that message was delivered and we had to live it, right? And it came with some challenges. It came with some strategies that we had to form around those times of change. So what are certain strategies you use with your team or yourself when those times of change and challenges come?
Yeah, I like the opportunity where, when I'm talking to the team, I want everybody to be heard, right? And I want everybody to understand that they have a valuable part of the team. Whether it's operations, whether it's marketing, those are very valuable, because that is what makes the brand. And a lot of the strategies that we use, I mean, we do a lot of group text, we're on Slack, but we do a lot of motivation too. We send each other scriptures from time to time, just motivating words. And for me, when you're in okay, especially in the e-commerce space, especially when you have a small team, it's not like a 9 to 5 when you're just gonna huddle up, and it's always a grind, whether you get a text at 7 in the morning or 7 at night, right? For me, or even on a Sunday after or Saturday when I go to the service, even after I heard a message from Pastor Ed, fired up. Let me send it off. So I won't give it away, because I know you're going tomorrow at 8 o'clock service, So, but just say, get ready. But those make you, I mean, that builds that connection, right? And the one thing I realized, and I was telling Milton, I said, look, as we're building this right now, and you look at the Stance, the Bombas, the Pair of Thieves of the world, they're all $100 million companies. Of course, we're not there yet, but they had to start from somewhere. And to build that core foundation, you really got to have folks on your team that that you trust, that can help you get the job done. And everybody has in the military, and especially on the Navy warship, we said you have your own warfare area. If we're going to fight the ship, you better know how to shoot missiles. You better know how to shoot the guns, right? You better know how to do your sonar. You have to fight the ship. And I take that same approach. If you're doing marketing, I got to trust that you know marketing, because, I'm running in a different direction. If you're doing ads, I got to trust that you know how to do ads. If you're, working with our team and our STZY team in Vietnam, I trust that you got that going, and we're going to get our product when we need it. Those are some of the things you got to build that trust, especially with the core team that's going to be that core as you continue to grow to that 25, 50, 100 plus member organization. And I think just building those bones right now, that's the beauty of it when you see it, because I'm telling you, in 2 or 3 years, when we look back, we're going to be like, man, you remember when. But for me, when I think of those remember wins, that's when we were truly laying the foundation. And I think for us as a company that is really centered and love God, we know that we're focused on that foundation, and everybody that's a part of it, you know, they're rolling with us or they're not rolling with us, right? And that strategy of making sure that everybody is heard is going to be a strategy that we're going to use regardless of how big we get. Because if it's important enough for a $2, $3, or $4, or $5 billion warship, darn it, it's important enough for an e-commerce company.
Well said. Message well felt, Anthony. I will say that, you know, the dream is real. You have achieved that dream. And speaking of, you know, next week is Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King's, you know, celebration holiday. So, right, it's perfectly fitted today, aligned for our message and your message to the world. So for folks listening in, want to know how to get some clouds on their feet and some definitely some great things there, how to get a hold of you or your company, what do they need to do?
Yeah, so for our website is STZY, STZY footwear.com. Just go there. We still have some great products for you to choose from. On January 15th, we're going to be unleashing some special items. So I would definitely tell you to get them while they're hot, because man, these things are going to go off the shelves like J's back in the day, right? So, you know, get them while you can. And I'm telling you, you know, for contacting me, you can always contact me on LinkedIn, Anthony Cosby. On Instagram, I'm at Anthony Cosby 40. And for STZY, we're at STZY Footwear on Instagram. And we also have a handle at STZY Sock. So any of those, my guys can get back to me. So please go to Instagram, follow us, follow our journey. It's going to be amazing for 2024. Reach out to me if you ever want me to come and speak to anybody that you might want me to speak to. You know, I love sharing knowledge. I don't want to keep it trapped in. As long as the good Lord gives me breath, let me tell somebody else how they can use whatever I have to get better, because I think as a world, that's the only way we can do it.
Absolutely. Now, folks, we will have all of that information as part of the video and show notes for you to get a hold of Anthony and STZY. Brother, we are so proud of what you are doing, and we just wish you continuous success from here on out. Folks, if you want to get a hold of the Leadership Void podcast, the leadershipvoid@gmail.com is where you'll send that correspondence. If you'd like to see a leadership topic covered by Vince and I, or a special speaker or guest, you'll do it by those means.
Yes, STZY's always where's it at. I'm telling you right now, I'm looking forward to the future. Foundation's already been put there, Anthony, by you and your team, doing some great things. Talk about team and talk about sponsors. We're so honored to have FAVOB, a hero for kids, and Triple Nickel as our sponsor for this wonderful show. But today is all about Anthony and his wonderful team at STZY. Have a great day and bright lights in the future, brother.
God bless.